The reasons I wrote this book are because I want people to be able to engage with their free speech rights in a way that will bring about those important purposes of the First Amendment itself.
My name is Maxwell Nospish, and I'm the Manager of Visitor Experiences here at the First Amendment Museum. Today, I'm talking to a very interesting guest and friend of the First Amendment Museum, Ian Rosenberg. Ian has over 20 years of experience as a media lawyer and has worked as a legal counsel for ABC News since 2003. And he recently published a new book entitled The Fight for Free Speech, along with a graphic novel companion called The Speech Handbook. Ian, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Maxwell. Thanks for having me.
Why do you think the First Amendment is important?
I think the First Amendment is vital to our ability to evolve and change as a society. It's vital to preserving our democracy. The reasons I wrote this book are because I want people to be able to engage with their free speech rights in a way that will bring about those important purposes of the First Amendment itself, to promote social change, to help our society evolve, and to protect our very democracy itself.
What inspired you to write The Fight for Free Speech and the Free Speech Handbook?
Well, it was really conversations with my kids at the dinner table that inspired me to write The Fight for Free Speech and particularly Free Speech Handbook. They were interested in whether they could participate in the National School Walkout, and they wanted to know what their rights were. And I realized that after 20 years of being a media lawyer, I felt very comfortable in understanding the issues, but I realized in talking with them that I could condense the wisdom of the past in a way without dumbing it down. Students particularly really didn't have a resource to turn to explain their free speech rights in a way that was both clear and engaging. And what's amazing about the graphic novel is not only does it answer the questions that people have, I think, about free speech and fill that need, but it also really tells fascinating stories in an unbelievably engaging way. And that's thanks to my co-creator, Mike Cavallero, who's the artist who really does amazing things with bringing these stories to life. These stories are thrilling. The stories of the average people who, Mary Beth Tinker, who wore an armband in Iowa during the 60s to protest the America's involvement in the Vietnam War while she was just, 13 years old in middle school. That's an incredible story. Civil rights heroes who give us our modern libel law because of the case New York Times versus Sullivan. And it's just something that doesn't often come up in the course of law school or in the course of academic treatises, because they're focused on rules and doctrine rather than nonfiction stories that are really compelling.
What do you hope people take away from your books?
Every day we are faced with sort of free speech dilemmas, just as regular participants in our democracy. And I hope what people take away from this book is the ability to have the knowledge to advocate and act on their free speech rights as they exist, and to try and change and grow our rights in different ways as they may choose, but based on the knowledge of where we have been in the past, and therefore use that to determine where we're going. So I like to think of advocacy for free speech as a grassroots activity that can happen every day. And I hope both of these books, The Fight for Free Speech and Free Speech Handbook, really help empower people to make that a grassroots practice.
What are some contemporary or current fights over free speech or for free speech?
The most recent contemporary battle that's reached and been decided upon by the Supreme Court just this past June is Mahanoy School District versus BL. BL ended up being Brandy Levy, and she's better known as the cheerleader who cursed on Snapchat when she found out she didn't make the team. Brandy Levy was engaging in her cursing speech outside of the classroom on the weekend. And what the Supreme Court decided, 8 members of the court all agreed that student speech is vital to our marketplace of ideas, and it's vital to our democracy, and that schools are, in fact, a laboratory for celebrating and protecting free speech today.
How do you exercise your First Amendment rights on a daily basis?
So I celebrate the First Amendment by engaging in protest peaceful protest and engaging in dissent. And I hope that when people read these books, they'll learn about, one, their right to engage in protest themselves, but two, more importantly, to realize that dissent is rarely popular. And sometimes it takes on sort of a rosy glow of inevitability when we look at it in the past. But in today's world, it's important that we recognize the value and the patriotism inherent in protecting dissent, even when that's a message that we may personally disagree with when we hear it from other people.
I just want to show the book again because I can't recommend the book. There's the other book. Perfect.
Hot off the press, Free Speech Handbook comes out on November 30th, and it will be available at bookstores everywhere. So I hope people will get this graphic novel guide to free speech.
Excellent. And like I said, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.